Welcome to this edition of the Techies webinar series. My name is Sujit John, and I have with me my colleague Shilpa Phadnis. The two of us will moderate the discussion. We hope you and your families are staying safe and doing well. Our discussion today is with Nasscom, and it is on future-proofing India's digital talent landscape. The world is getting transformed in fundamental ways because of the new age digital technologies, cloud, AI, ML, IoT, robotic process automation, virtual reality, augmented reality, blockchain. This process of transformation received a massive boost from the COVID-19 pandemic, which forced employees to work remotely and customers to rely more on online services. India has a very large and talented software and engineering workforce, but the digital transformation now requires this workforce to acquire very different skill sets. If India can create sufficient numbers of these new digital workers, it's a massive opportunity for the country to serve both itself and the world. Nasscom has taken major steps in this direction with its FutureSkills Prime program. Individual members of Nasscom too are playing significant roles. To understand where India stands today and to discuss what it needs to do further, we have with us a very distinguished panel.
We have Kirti, co-architect and head of Nasscom's FutureSkills Prime program. Kirti was with NIIT for many years and took on Nasscom's FutureSkills lead role in 2018. FutureSkills was a program in association with companies. The success of the program encouraged the Ministry of Electronics and IT to partner with Nasscom to create the FutureSkills program and reach out directly to millions of potential candidates. We'll hear more from this from Kirti. Welcome, Kirti. We have with us Paneesh Rao. Paneesh Rao is Chief People Officer at Mindtree. Paneesh was with Aditya Birla Minax, Atos, and L&T Technology Services before moving to Mindtree. Welcome, Paneesh.
Thank you.
We have with us Jagdish Mitra. Jagdish is Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Growth at Tech Mahindra. Jagdish has been with Tech Mahindra for almost his entire professional career, including as CEO of Tech Mahindra's mobility business, Canvas M Technologies. Welcome, Jagdish. We have with us Srijata Sengupta. Srijata is Head of HR for Accenture Technology Centers in India. Srijata has been with Accenture since 2004. Prior to that, she was with Mercer HR Consulting. Welcome, Srijata.
Those who are viewing this can send in questions through the Facebook comment box. Shilpa and I will put them to Kirti, Paneesh, Jagdish, and Srijata. Let me ask you first, Kirti. FutureSkills Prime sounds like a very exciting and ambitious program. Tell us, how is it going? How many people have already registered to learn? Is the government subsidizing the learners? Kirti?
So thanks for that, Sujit. Excited to be here because I see, all my fellow panelists are all supporters of FutureSkills and FutureSkills Prime. So this is Go Team FutureSkills. Fantastic. So yes, FutureSkills Prime is a joint initiative between Nasscom and the Ministry of IT. And as Shilpa introduced that, when FutureSkills was born, it was really born out of a need of this whole digital tsunami that is hitting the world. Of course, COVID has just accelerated that and completely changed the ballgame. But there was this recognition that business models are changing, talent is going to be a big problem. We better have an industry response to it because the problem cuts across and we need to collaborate to fix it. But very quickly it is apparent, and I think the Mindtree report on the $1 trillion digital economy also emerged around that time. And so the government said, hey, if the IT industry is doing it for itself, why don't you create something for all Indian citizens? Because digital is going to be everywhere. Very prescient and I guess obvious at that time that this is going to happen. And hence FutureSkills Prime was born. The government has given a grant to Nasscom and to our project management partners, which is CDAC and NILET, to build out this program. So the platform is being customized for Indian citizens. Content is being created, government, industry validated content. And again, I see contributors to the platform. Accenture is a contributor to the platform. So industry has contributed to the platform. Training partners have partnered with us, collaborated, given content to the platform. Everybody is moving towards this digital talent nation image of India. So FutureSkills Prime will, right now, as we've been born, it's been a good 6 months. We have over 340,000 people now on the platform. Yes, 340,000 people. It's real, it's very real. We have about 120,000 people who have enrolled in courses, all on digital technologies. And enrollment is not good enough. So I know I'll preempt your next question that we have about 50, I want to say 55, but I'll say 50,000 people actually completing courses on the platform. So we have a great completion rate as well. And I mean, I don't know whether I should go into that.
That's in less than a year, I think, no? Not even a year, right?
7 months. 7 months. But,
okay.
None of this would have happened if industry was not supporting us, if academia was not coming and, building this with us, if the government wasn't pushing and encouraging us. So it's been a Team India effort. And the Mitra likes to use this word Team India. So I'm plugging it in for Mitra, saying that's, it's a nation. It's something we have to do for the nation and everyone's pitching in. It's free to access. Anyone can log on to it. FutureSkillsPrime.in is the website. Anybody can log in. We have some most unique profile of people coming on, whether it's CEOs, whether it's middle management, whether it's college students. So it's great. It's really democratizing digital skilling.
But it's paid for. I mean, you have to pay, right? Is it subsidized? I noticed, yes, I was going through some of the courses, some 10,000, some 30,000.
Yes. So the subsidy will come. It has not been made live yet. We are still putting the audit trails and compliances in place, but that will come. Government will subsidize half the fee of what you pay for the course, provided you get certified, of course. That will come, and the government is funding it. But till that subsidy comes up, what we worked with industry and our training partners was, see what you can give us for free on the platform, because digital skilling is a problem. So for a little while, I think maybe another month or so, there's a lot of content that's free. Once that stops, of course, people have to earn a living too. So the free content will stop and the paid courses will come. Some have already come, but yes, the ones which are aligned to our standards, you have to have some standards, some benchmark. So we've benchmarked all these programs, and then the subsidy will kick in. So 50% of what you pay after you get certified, you will get back. Government will also pay for your assessment, by the way, you'll get that money back as well.
Okay. Okay. Those budgets have been finalized or?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. How soon do you think that will happen?
Oh, that's a trick question. So couple of months is what we are aiming for.
Okay. And the objective is to train how many people over the next couple of years?
Well, the program itself has a target of 412,000 people in digital skills, which is huge. I mean, given that that's literally, 10% of where the IT industry is today. But this is certified. So, this is a pretty intensive goal. But we're saying, hey, why 412,000? We want to skill 2 million people. So that's what we're going for. Okay.
But many of your member companies themselves are doing many of these courses. So where do you see the people coming from? Are they, would it also be an Accenture employee or a Mindtree employee or a Tech Mahindra employee? Or
they could be. See, the three companies who are here with us today are very mature learning systems. They all have their own LMSs. They all have their programs. So we're telling them that if you use it, please do. And they actually are finding stuff which is useful on the platform, which they don't have in their LMSs. A lot of the informal content that they find useful to build awareness. So that's what they use it for. But the formal stuff, these type of companies will normally do internally. But we are reaching out to them to say what you're doing internally, can you contribute it on the platform and make it available to other people? And just, rising tide lifts all boats. So everybody pitch in, and Accenture's just put a course on 250-hour program on artificial intelligence. So they've built it, they've put it on, they're going to run the pilot, they're going to make it successful with us. So if industry pitches in, then we will see we'll see these kind of completion rates. People are saying we'll offer internships to people who consume courses here. People are saying we will, ask them to complete courses and come so they get an advantage in the interview that they are having with us. So lots of possibilities. Once it's open to everybody, industry will find a way to make it useful. Companies are using it for their CSR. So they are saying, you know, open it up to people, support, use the platform, but then support is provided by the company. So everyone's finding different ways to make it useful for themselves. Goal is spread it wide, democratize, digital skilling, digital talent nation. If India is going to get that $1 trillion digital opportunity, we've got to do it together.
Srijata, Jagdish, Paneesh, feel free to jump in at any point. But tell us, I mean, the India opportunity, how does it look if we train enough people? Firstly, are we training fast enough? What's the demand looking like versus supply? Any of you, I mean, Srijata, Paneesh, Jagdish?
Sure, I could go first. Thank you, Sujit, and thank you, Kirti. It was a pleasure launching the AI Ascent in collaboration with Nasscom, and I look forward to seeing the feedback and the usage of that program. And Sujit, to your point on demand versus supply, I think, you know, I think sky is the limit when it comes to digital and the demand for digital skills, right? And when we look at supply, I kind of, you know, place it a little differently, that, you know, as industry, but as a nation, we need people to, you know, solve real problems, you know, for our clients, for our country, for our society, or for our community. And the second point is technology is everywhere, and everybody is to some extent a consumer of technology and also creator of technology. If you put these two things together and start to think about what do we need for the future, we actually need people who can solve real life problems, right? Using digital, using technology. That is the core. We are after all a discussion in the context of technology. So in that context, what we really need is agile learners. We need human skills. We need empathy. We need STEM skills, but we also need art. We also need creativity. We also need innovation. So if we look at that construct, I feel the supply is also unlimited. The moment you start putting constraints that only a certain kind of person or a certain kind of degree can be successful in the technology industry, we put constraints on the supply. If you remove those constraints, and in the last year of the pandemic has removed a lot of constraints for us. You know, it has questioned a lot of things that we took for granted or we thought were non-negotiable, and we have been challenged. So if you remove the constraints to that extent, Sujit, and particularly in India, with the very young talent pool, the supply in my mind is unlimited. And I feel it's the onus on us as an industry, bodies like Nasscom, to help provide that opportunity for people to learn and learn the skills based on what area or what their passion is. And once we remove the constraints, things like the skills prime, things that our company is doing or and my colleagues are doing, will only help accelerate the supply and not the constraints. I really don't feel that supply is a constraint. I think the sky is the limit when it comes to supply.
And constraint, even a non-science, non-engineering student, a lot of opportunities, you would say?
Absolutely. Why not? Because that's where we really see. Now we are talking of STEAM, right? Not just STEM, which is the arts part of it. So even a non-science person or a science person, because what digital really means, at its highest level, is solving for the people, keeping the human at the center. So you need to understand the various aspects of human. And of course, we will need software engineering skills as well. We are not taking that away. That will also be the core, but we will need other skills as well. And if we remove these constraints, we will start to see people cross over as well. There is no research to prove that somebody who has an art background cannot learn coding skills. Coding is itself changing in a very big way with low code, no code platforms. Everybody can be a technologist. So you really don't, some technology has evolved in quite a significant way. I think our mindset can also change accordingly.
Paneesh?
So thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to take this discussion a little differently. And, I want to say if we're talking of digital India, then, it's not the population that's represented by these 3-4 companies. I think, irrespective of what initiatives are taken, we will train our people and make them digital savvy because, it's part of our everyday work, and we will do everything to deliver to our customers. But the issue is those who use this technology, are they literate enough? Right. And one great example, if I can bring it, given the recent situation of the pandemic, and we came up with this COVID app. The reason that many people weren't able to register and get themselves vaccinated is because, they didn't know how to do it. I think, I would take this discussion to that than saying, how is it benefiting us? Because it's a same close-knit circle or people, who keep getting educated on technology, and it's not going beyond to the larger population that has to use it and become digital savvy.
So how do you reach out to them?
I guess, the little bit that we do through our education programs as part of our CSR, catch them young, introduce them to technology, get them interested in technology, get them interested in science, etc., probably would help this nation. Because, there are many people who reach the age where they don't want to learn anymore. So, it's important if you want to build the future of the country, then, catch these children young and start educating them. I think, go back to that because that I believe is going to shape the nation of the future.
Okay, we'll come back to that point later. Jagdish, you want to opening remarks?
First of all, as pleasure to be with all of you. Future skilling is probably more applicable to some people like us, I think. And Kirti will only agree as part of Nasscom's program. I've been very actively involved in this as to what we can do. And I think just to make sure that we all talk or walk the talk, I myself have signed up to one of the courses there because, it's as much more relevant for anyone, not just India, anyone. And we have a plan to take this future skill discussion international as well. That it's important for people like us as leaders or managers or so and so forth to demonstrate and showcase that this learning can't be only at the bottom of the pyramid. It has to start from the top, and it has to showcase that people who are actually across the board are learning. And that's why when we were thinking about the Future Skills program and any of our learning programs, like any of our, Paneesh, Srijata, all of us talked about, have our separate programs in this, but it can only succeed if this is not a bottom-up program. I think it has to be a top-down program where people start to demonstrate and get into the feeling that this learning that we are discussing today so fervently is not here to go away. It's the time scale, like Moore's law, is only going to change even more faster. So what you thought was okay as a skill for two years is now soon going to be okay for only a year, then 6 months, and hopefully not a week. But you will constantly be on the treadmill of learning if you want to be relevant. That's number one point. Number two, to your topic, some recent survey said 86 or 90% of the CXOs felt the biggest challenge for their growth is talent shortage. And obviously the talent shortage is in these digital areas, in cloud, in analytics, in AI, in 5G, in so and so forth. And obviously it's got to be a mix of it. Otherwise you don't have specialized skills. One guy who knows only AI doesn't work unless and until he has a set of other skills that he's able to combine with. That's the bigger challenge that we need to solve. And to a certain extent, to what I think my co-panelists said and talked about the wider opportunity. And I have the opportunity and pleasure to lead one digital literacy program for the larger India as part of India at 75. And the problems that Paneesh talked about are about vaccination and this and that. Look at the other opportunity also, right? While the Indian IT services companies need to transform themselves, the likes of us, and make it a lot more agile, a lot more DevOps oriented, a lot more analytics oriented rather than, large scale, only manpower oriented discussions. It's probably an opportunity for India to really rise on the bandwagon for startups. And that can only happen We in Nasscom have a 10,000 startup program, but look at the tier 2, tier 3 cities that have the huge opportunity, thanks to what COVID has taught us, to create this multitude of organizations based on digital. Businesses that are completely going to be built around digital, and you can only do it if everyone understands digital. And I think finally to your question, I'm a big proponent of this theory that we are in the previous world where we hire engineers and we hire qualified graduates to do this. The world in America has shown us that the most successful technology company startup owners, and I don't need to name them, you know them, are all dropouts. So India can actually show the way by saying that our 11th grad, 12th grad people who understand the basics of digital and probably have taken, our Future Skills program. Kirti, I'm expecting a big smile from you at that point. And
Yes.
and the whole aspect of creating so many entrepreneurs across the country, because we have the thinking we only need to bring those skills into play, and graduate or engineer is absolutely should be abolished from our hiring programs.
And they should only do FutureSkills Prime certifications and then get hired. I mean, since you were on it, Jagdish, I said might as well complete that thought.
Jagdish, CXOs who are taking courses, more and more beginning to take?
My CEO does a course on cloud computing.
Okay.
I haven't asked him how he is doing. But, CP Gurnani is doing a course on cloud computing. I'm doing a course on design thinking, primarily because I think that, and obviously on AI. I keep telling my people that those who don't have I at least definitely need to do the AI part. And I'm in the not I part.
Shilpa?
Yeah, I think you have to choose what you want to pick up. If it's not in the Future Skills program, then find something. But the companies that actually start the culture are from the top.
Okay. Interesting. Paneesh, people who are taking courses?
Yeah, there are several people from our own company, and they are doing that. And like Kirti talked about, we are also of the belief that skill only matters. So basic education does not matter. So we are also departing from asking for engineers with a particular percentage and marks and stuff like that to saying, if you got the capability, if you got the skill, come and work with us.
Okay. Shilpa?
Paneesh, Jagdish and Srijata, I just wanted to ask you, with the changing work dynamics, when talent has become decentralized, there are newer hybrid models at play. What are the new skills that are required for talent to be future ready? Companies like Twitter are already calling out roles like remote India, remote Australia, and, remote US. So I just wanted to hear from you, with newer hybrid models, what kind of talent is required to be future ready?
Who wants to go first?
Ladies,
Okay.
want to go first?
So let me take that. I think this is all based on experience. So we have never worked mass scale like this remotely before. While we had a great policy where we said 6 days in a month you can work from home, but we never worked all of us together from home and this long a period. I think the first thing first is I got an email from a colleague this morning, mother appreciating a trainer on screen as she was watching her son go through the training. So I want to start with saying, the companies or the families have entered the company instead of saying the companies entered the homes of people. Families have entered the company because your premise has changed now. Second, I would say that, they are now influencing your work patterns, right? And they are also influencing your decision to work with a company or not to work with a company, because they are now privy to the kind of meetings that you're having, the kind of behavior that the managers are showing, the kind of tone and the language that's being used in the communication, etc., etc. So they are now influencing your career. Having said that, I think it's very important for managers to learn how to get work, how to monitor. It wasn't like before that You walk to the desk and check on how people are doing, and if they needed any help, you provide the help. Everything is going to be remote now. You don't know what people are doing. There's blur between your office and home, because bedroom probably is your office, drawing room is your home, and one step away is your bed. So given the situation, that's very important. How do you manage your people remotely? I think from the employee side, I would say that staying relevant is going to be more the onus of the employee than the manager or the company. I remember back in '89 when I started my career, we used to do training programs to keep people relevant. And we used to take the responsibility as a company saying, we need it, therefore we need to train people. It slowly moved to saying, we share the responsibility. It's your interest as well as our interest. I think we are going to move to a situation where we are saying that it's your interest to stay relevant, otherwise the world is open to me. And therefore, we invested in platforms. We said, these are the courses available, get yourself certified and stay relevant. So these are the two things I would call out, saying, how to manage people remotely, how to continue to keep your business ethics, culture, so that, you continue to be an organization that people want to work for. And from the employee side, stay relevant by continuously learning. And lastly, I would also say that, the future belongs to that company that takes care of wellness and welfare of its people, with just what we experienced till yesterday.
Okay, Srijata.
I'll most probably add to what Paneesh said is, as we have worked virtually, how we learn has also changed quite significantly. Obviously, in the past, there was a certain portion where people used to get together in a classroom or some format to learn. There was some amount of monitoring. There was a trainer in front of you. All of that is gone. In Accenture, even pre-pandemic, we used to do 70% of our learning anytime, digital, access anywhere. That's really gone to 200% now. What this means is learning has now gone into hands of each individual. It needs to be personalized. It needs to be available anywhere, because that's people are working from anywhere. They can learn anywhere, and it needs to be available on time. In the past, when you were working in a bay with your colleagues, perhaps if you had a problem, you could turn to somebody immediately and say, "Can you tell me?" Right now, you most probably have to access something very, very quickly yourself. So on time is also a new aspect of learning that we are really exploring. What we are really trying to focus on is what we are calling as the connected learning, which is learning anywhere, learning anytime, and learning on the go, which brings together all dimensions of learning, and at some point of time, even perhaps classroom learning, so that people can get an experience of truly being hybrid even while they are learning. We talk in the concept of when you're working, what does it mean to be hybrid? And some people in office, some people at work. But that's most probably going to also translate in the way we learn going forward. And this has actually helped us impart learning at scale quite significantly. For example, over the first 5 months of the pandemic, we were able to train about 70,000 of our people on very niche hot skills, including cloud and remote collaboration tools and technology services alone. And that was because the investment was made in the past, but we're really seeing the value of that. So we have to kind of start to rethink as organizations, how do we make learning also democratized, and not restricted and accessible to a few, even within the company and outside the company. And that's where our association with FutureSkills and Nasscom really help us take that to everywhere, anywhere, etc. So I'll just pause there, Sujit.
Jagdish?
Well, I think there are apart from what my co-panelists said, there are two things that actually, to Shilpa, to your point about what's changing, is important. One, I have to admit that from our perspective, we were at about close to 1% or even lower as remote working before this happened. It's only demonstrated that what the opportunity and the value is once this happened. And we are now at 98% or whatever number, if I take globally amongst our 130, 135,000 people that are working remotely, right? So we could make the change because there is a digital infrastructure available. There is an ability to do it. But as we start, I'll have to agree that we learned along the way. One of the big things that we learned along the way is that when you have to do these things remotely, one part is obviously infrastructure, but second part of it is how do managers behave? How do team leaders behave? Well, the culturals and the change management of doing things remotely is huge. It's tremendous. It's not easy to say people will work remotely because there are a function of how to make these bite-sized so that you're actually making them deliverable, measured rather than 10 people huddling together and doing the stuff, which is not going to happen. Now, that's one key aspect of your breaking down of work packages, breaking down of solutions and deliverables so that the manager has to really work hard in a remote environment to make sure that he's breaking into small units, which can be composed, can be measured without sitting on top of the guy and looking through the shoulder. That's not the model that will work ever. And similarly, that's why when we looked at the future skills, if you look at the onus of saying, get your certification done and people will reimburse, is a model that you'll have to constantly apply even in your companies. You have to tell people that, boss, at the end of the day, if you don't realize the onus of learning, no one can help. It's like you can put 16 ads for cigarette smoking causes cancer, or helmet not wearing can cause an accident, which you'll have a head injury and you'll die. But unless and until people learn and experience that, they will never be able to relate to it. It's like another ad. So each company has to do a huge amount of change management to make sure this works, including people realizing this job, by the way. So I will not name a client, but we learned this from a client, a very large telecom company that we work with. And they did all the future, and we learned this and we applied this to our journey. We said all the people need to know where their journey is going to be based on roles that will exist 3 to 5 years from now. And if you don't want to, which in the West, a lot of people might say that, I am chilled. After 3 years, I'm going to just take my bike and drive around rest of the country. So I don't give a damn. I'm not going to be worried about reskilling. Just then, after 3 years, the role goes away. I'm going to close my hands and say bye. But we in India, unfortunately, social, economics, otherwise, we don't do that so often. So we decided to do a journey for every role and said, this is the role which will exist for 2 years. And after 2 years, this is what it will become. Now, you want to be in the job, learn it. If you don't want to do the job, don't learn it. We will reimburse, but only when you start to learn. So more and more, we need to make people mature and thought process oriented, both for managers as well as for learners, as to what is in it for them. If it is not changing, then the COVID world, the learnings from the COVID world will be lost.
Yeah, all of you are saying the onus, more and more of the onus is now on the individual. Kirti, I mean, what is your sense? Youngsters in India, are they taking on that responsibility? Are they realizing that they must change, they must reskill? Or does a lot of pushing also required from the organizations?
I would say both. Because see, from the organization perspective, the communication that an organization can have is very targeted, is very specific. Jagdish talked about journeys. So you can make it visible to an employee in a company that if she reskills herself, where is she going to go? The opportunities can be made very visible. It's a very closed ecosystem. But when you open it up and suddenly you go from 4 million of the IT industry to 40 million of people, in all occupations across industries, the ball game is very different. So you will have a situation where so many people don't even know what these technologies are. And I think Paneesh referred to that. He referred to that to say, okay, what is it? How is it going to affect my life? So this messaging that has to go out at many levels. And when we even looked at designing the FutureSkills Prime platform, one of the things the government liked about it was that we brought out this concept of digital fluency, where we said that, look, everybody is not going to be a DevOps engineer or a data scientist or a cloud architect, There are going to be people who just need to know what is artificial intelligence, how is it going to help affect my life, what are the applications in which it can be used. So one is me as an individual looking at my mobile phone and saying these applications, how is artificial intelligence incorporated in that? What is the cybersecurity element in how I use this application, how I share my data? So that's at an individual level. But there is also at a senior level, and that is what I think Jagdish and Paneesh were both alluding to, is that senior managers, I mean, me, for instance, I'm out of college for years that I don't care to count. But if I don't even know what is artificial intelligence, or I can't have this intelligent conversation, I can't be here. I wouldn't be talking to you. So I need to know, why is it important? Even if I need to just what is important for the other guy, well, that's good enough in my role. But in all Jagdish, Paneesh and Srijata's role, if the leaders aren't thinking of possibilities, what is going to happen to the strategy of that company? Talk about a small company, you know, where it's an owner-driven management. Now the owner is probably 40, 50 years old. If she doesn't know, he doesn't know what the possibilities are, that company will die. Just read an article 2-3 days ago, I think it was a TOI only, about these corner stores signing up for these applications, you know, for their home delivery or taking orders remotely or something. Per force, they have had to digitize and learn these skills and learn these applications. So it's going to come at different levels, whether it will be at a digital fluency level where you just need to know what is it, what can it be used for, what are the possibilities. Then there is a foundation level where you say, okay, I need to go a little bit deeper because maybe I'm a manager, I'm a team leader. So just a superficial digital fluency will not do. And then there are the guys who actually need to do the job. So, you know, then you need to go into your deep skilling. And that, if you say, what are Indians doing? Some are being very proactive, but broadly, if I were to make a general statement, I say the learner needs to know what's in it for me. So people will learn only if they know what is the outcome at the end of it. And we see it again and again on the Prime platform. Now we have enough data points to, you know, make that visible. If you offer something, you offer a prize, you offer a participation, a hackathon, or you give an internship, or you say, just interview, you know, something like that. Suddenly you will have people coming in droves because now they can see what's the benefit. But just if you say, digital skills, digital India, $1 trillion economy, what's that one individual going to do? She doesn't know, you know, why is it important? Make it important, make it visible, make it visual.
And that's a good point to bring in, because one of the things that we have kind of come to realize is learning is good, but the opportunity to apply needs to come soon enough. Otherwise, the learning does not stick, and then of course it is not motivating enough. So you could apply through maybe an internship or a hackathon, somewhere that you can apply that skill and you can actually see the progress you have made as an individual by investing in that learning. So which is why I go back to learning anywhere, and learning at the point of time is very important. Because one of the things is also learning does not stick very easily unless it's applied.
The open source guys say contribute your open source codes and all that. Yeah, I guess those are ways to kind of try and implement some of the things. Yeah, absolutely. Unless you implement, you won't really stick with it.
You have to create role models, you know, in the organization, where if the guy took a chance to do it and the people did it, whether they are remotely, and there are so many great stories of, you know, people who are, you've seen the Twitter ad of the kid who comes to that same bus stop to learn, and the father holding an umbrella in the rain. There are so many stories in each of our companies of people who are doing these from different parts of the world and different parts of their tier 3, tier 4 towns. It's just not just India, different parts of the world as well. And if you make them that they benefited because they did it, I think to the point that we are all saying that adult learning is a very different ballgame. It's not going to happen by sermonizing, but it's by happening, you know, certain amount of fear, which is that this job will not be there, but it will definitely not be by looking over the shoulder that have you attended the class. Organizations in their management style are anyway changing from, you know, command and control. Training and learning also has to change from command and control to me feeling that I may not be relevant.
So
And when I look at the scale of what we are talking on a future skills thing, even the fact that this is an industry government collaboration is a very powerful message that goes out to say, see, industry is where the jobs are, industry is where the magnet is. So when we put that out there, that this is where the content is coming from, or these are the people who are validated, there's a lot of trust that gets established. Trust is really important. There's so much out there. I mean, you Google artificial intelligence, you will be overwhelmed by how much content is available and all for free. But what is trusted, what is relevant? I think that's where this industry piece comes in, and that's why this Nasscom piece becomes so important, because otherwise, why? I mean, there are tons and tons of learning platforms. You can go to any of them.
Yeah, Kirti, I know Paneesh wants to speak, and Kirti, on this point, there's a very good question here. And Paneesh, I'll let you speak. One sec. From Anjali Soni saying, great program. Are there plans to offer courses in regional languages as well? This goes to the point that Paneesh also made early on.
So,
what are the chances?
Yeah,
Kirti, I just wanted to check with Kirti first whether regional languages, any plans at all?
No plans yet, and for multiple reasons, which I know out of syllabus for this discussion. But there are a lot of challenges when you go to regional languages, and you can see it in any training programs that are offered. Bulk of them are all in English, so there's a reason for that. And yes, we would all love for it to be in regional languages. I think we're a little way away, but in spirit, yes, we want to, but we still can't figure out.
Not possible immediately. Okay. Paneesh, sorry, you were saying something.
So the good news is I think it's going to happen, because, you can't shy away from the vernacular, given the diversity in the country at this moment. And I'm limiting our dialogues to the country, India. Under the banner digital, there's a very successful program that the country undertook. I want to call this out, the digital payment. And today, I think every vegetable vendor, except for the beggars, I think everybody's got a scan code. Everybody makes and takes payment through digital system. And thanks to the COVID also, and it only multiplied, because people thought that the infection was coming through the currency notes that were being given by the vendors, etc., etc. So that passage of the currency note has completely stopped now. It's all about scanning and paying through your mobile phone, and everybody is taking money and giving money. I think the day we reach that level of digital literacy, I think, we can call ourselves a digitized nation.
Okay.
We, just to add to it, what Paneesh said, and I know Kirti also mentioned, we're doing this. We've taken a small initiative in TechM to do that. We've created our innovation setup is called Makers Lab, and our Makers Lab has created a markup language called BHAML, Bharat Markup Language, which has basis as Sanskrit as the basis of the syntax. And we're trying to make sure that we're just launching it with the Principal Scientific Advisor's Office, that we will try and make sure coding in the dialect starts to become easier, and then use that across to be able to do the learning there. Because as I said, the moment we move towards the 12-year-olds and some of the tier 3, tier 4 type cities and towns, you will have to get into these people, and you will lose the talent if we don't make that move, right? So we're trying to make that move happen with our little bit of the development around the compiler language.
Okay. Shilpa?
Yeah, we have this question from Padma Priyan, and this is to Paneesh Rao. Sir, you touched upon this. Techies tend to develop tools which would suit other techies. Example, the Coven portal. Should techies also be trained and be aware of the requirements and use cases of the non-tech savvy skills? I think that's what she was referring to.
No, absolutely. What use is it if you made something that can't be used by others, right? So you got to, everything that we make, whether it's a product or a software or anything that we do, or a hardware, we got to keep the ultimate user in mind to make it happen, because ultimately they are the user, not the one who made it. So there is absolutely no doubt. I agree with that, and that is how it should be. Whether it's a shampoo or a software, whatever it be.
Srijata, Accenture, reaching out to a broader audience, possible?
Did you mean in the context of learning and hiring?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I think we've already launched a couple of programs over the last 12 months. One is called Aram, which is reaching out to women. One of the programs was particularly focused on women from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. We provided them with an internship, which was a 12-week learning program on the job, and as well as virtual and digital learning. And after 12 weeks, we made an offer, and 100%, the pass rate was 100% on our regular assessment cycles. And that is really a testimony that once provided an opportunity to learn and apply, anybody can really create a successful career in technology. We have kind of replicated that with persons with disability as well, because we did realize over the years that the talent from that segment is not represented well enough, in the industry and also in Accenture. So we kind of replicated the same program, and I really believe that the sky is the limit on that, and it kind of proved that, once there is the right platform is provided for learning, the right ecosystem is provided, absolutely, everyone can and should have a very successful career in technology. You really don't have to have any constraints of a certain degree or a certain college or a certain city, even a certain city now, right? To be successful in technology. The other element is, and we just speak about it, but I think it's important enough to re-emphasize, is the diversity of thoughts and diversity of background that we really need in the industry to be able to solve the future solve the problems of the future. We spoke about people, technologists designing systems for technologists. We need technologists who can design systems for everyone, and that's where the technology world is moving. And hence, we need pretty much everyone to be able to design technology, and that's the fundamental shift. And we really want to reach out to a larger segment. If any of you are interested in a career in technology, if that's a passionate, irrespective of what degree you have, irrespective of what qualifications, I can say that there is a future in technology.
Okay. There's this question. This is for all of you actually, but this is from Arjun Desai asking, what is the Nasscom FutureSkills team and all of the other companies doing to groom leaders who can work across geographies and in uncertainties? Somebody wants to take that?
Well, if Nasscom could do that, I think we would have superhuman powers, and we would, we would just, but that's not really our remit. But the question, I guess, what he's trying to say is that how are we enabling this? And is the association, and we are an association, so we say what our members, what our members' charter is. I mean, we just formulate the charter and we're one voice to say it, but Nasscom is just an association. But everyone is absolutely aware that we have to groom leaders. And at one level, the platform is just a platform. It's got courses. It's like, who's going to go and do it? Jagdish already mentioned, and Paneesh mentioned, Srijata mentioned here, that Nasscom ourselves leaders are learning. So we know that leaders have to learn. So by walking the talk, I think that's what we are doing. By enabling content at multiple levels, we are doing it. Now you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So we've created the pool, we've created the lake, and horses are beginning to drink, at least ours are. And I think in all the companies that are in this panel, they are. But that's how we are enabling it, but over to the other companies.
I think, learning is never ending. And which is what the constant effort that we put in telling people, and learning is their onus, obviously, nowadays. What we realized is that we have hired people without meeting them now. We have onboarded people without meeting them. We are working with them without meeting them. Many a times we don't even know, what their working conditions are at home, etc., etc. So this is going to be the thrust area for us in terms of developing leaders to work with people unknown. And working remotely, working with teams, I think, especially this industry that we belong to has been doing this for ages. We have teams distributed across geographies. But the added, challenge to this whole thing is we are now working with people that we have physically never seen and probably will not see. So I think that's going to be the challenge. We are learning in the process. I don't know if I can say that this is what we are doing.
Yeah.
Many of these things are the first time experiences for us. And we are learning in the process and teaching each other, I must say, because we are also doing the same. We can't say that we know everything and teach others.
Okay. Shilpa?
We have this question from Manoranjan Pandey. Coming to individual skilling, are certifications from portals, MOOCs like Coursera, Udemy considered by organizations?
Yeah, so I'll take that. I think today the way and as Kirti also mentioned, you use Google and you'll find 1,000 courses on it, right? And the whole idea of this whole Future Skills program and some of our own programs is to get some element of standardization. That doesn't mean that if you've done a course in Coursera or you've done something in Udemy has got no value. It's probably got equal and enough value in it. It just makes sure that you've learned the course and you're able to demonstrate that you've learned. So, the way I think companies are trying to evaluate has also changed. So it's no longer, as we said, are you a graduate? Are you qualified? Are you certified? But you're given problems to solve in order to make sure, like you do in a hackathon type environment. We do that all the time to ensure that people are able to solve that problem. So it's a tick in the box for you to be able to know it, but the application of that skill is where it matters. So I would say that we at least don't differentiate in between where you've learned from, but you've learned from something that we have created and the association has created. It gives you a little better understanding of what we are looking for.
Yeah, if I were to say that these are companies whose courses we recognize and we have them on our learning platform. So if we can recognize certifications from that for our own people, we would recognize certifications of others from those platforms privately also. It's not just about certification that we recognize. It's also, what you learn from that certification is more important, like, Jagdish said, of its application. Learning by itself is of no use if you can't apply it. So that's the interview part of it. But do we recognize? Of course we recognize, because we recognize that for our own employees on the platform, learning platform that we provide.
This, when everybody's working remotely, people are hiring the people remotely, people are not even seeing your company's, the physical infrastructure, other employees. How do you ensure that culture, a uniform culture emerges? Is that becoming a big task for you?
It is. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so firstly, Sujit, I don't believe the building represents the culture. The building is the building. It represents most
probably
brand. So I think what the pandemic has helped us kind of realize is that it is the people who represent the culture, and it is the interactions that demonstrate the culture, the way we take decisions that demonstrate the culture. Every interaction is where culture gets established and solidified in a company, and of course it's a big challenge in front of everybody to make sure that we are kind of weaving that culture and maintaining that culture in a very virtual environment as well, with the hiring that everyone is doing. We have new people coming in, but the fundamentals remain the same. As leaders, as supervisors, the way we talk, the way we communicate, the language we use, everything demonstrates the culture of an organization. In fact, I was talking to a few people who had joined Accenture maybe over the last 6 months. We've never met them, and I did ask them, do you see any difference in your previous company and Accenture, because we are a different company, and the way they articulated perhaps would have been better than, people who like me who have been with the company for so long. So it kind of gives me the confidence that it is the people who really represent our culture. And if we can trust our people to really embody that and make sure and embed that in every conversation, then it doesn't matter if we are together or not. Of course, it would have been good to be together because after all, we are human and we like, a social, we are social animals as well. And that would have been an added advantage. But, we have to trust our leaders and trust our people that, they know what is expected. And I do believe that people know. So I'm an optimist on that front.
Okay. Paneesh, you're saying something.
Yeah, you know what? Slightly adding and slightly differing from what Srijata said, I think history is on the walls of every company. And honestly, when I started at Mindtree and going through the walls of Mindtree with the photograph of the first invoice that the company raised, to the photographs of the founders under a tree of wisdom, as they call it, and to the live logo that I see of a red color frame with a tree behind with yellow flowers on it. Premises have their own history. I think, given the situation, you got to have good storytellers to keep that culture on. And I think that is another skill, if I miss saying that, of what do you expect of the leaders of the future? I would say storytelling is going to be a big skill of keeping people together and retaining the culture of the organization.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I just got a long, observation come question from Manish Mohan on exactly this. And yeah, some interesting. Due to the new digital way of work, dissemination of culture of organizations has suddenly changed. Most employees used to stay longer with organizations based on how they felt about their organization. Cultural and in-person events used to go a long way in getting them strongly associated with the entity they worked for. In the new digital way of working, where there is no or hardly any in-person relationship getting developed, how do companies overcome this problem of no in-person contact? Is attrition going to become a bigger monster problem in the new digital world? Any thoughts on how this issue can be bridged by FutureSkills and organization leaders? Of course, Srijata said it's still possible to do it with the kind of conversations that you have with everybody. Anybody wants to make a remark on this?
I probably lean towards Paneesh a little bit that it is hard in a virtual situation. You have to be very intentional about it. I think the storytelling is a very key part of it. You have to make it come alive. You have to make people feel what do they belong to? What does it stand for? What does it mean? The outreach that you have to do with your teams has to be very, you can't forget it. You can't just leave it because there are no corridor conversations anymore. There's no chatting at the canteen. There's no, hanging around in the garden. There's none of that. So where do you exchange that non-work related stuff, that feeling stuff? It is hard. And I mean, I'm saying it as an employee. I'm not now talking from a FutureSkills perspective. I also belong to an organization and I'm a leader in that organization. And I know that it is so easy to just lose touch. So I have to keep reminding myself that I have a job to do of getting my team continuously charged up, continuously believing, continuously knowing what they stand for. It's hard, and you have to do it. As a leader, you just have to keep reminding yourself to do it.
I'll only add to it, Sujit, that, I think there's no doubt about, what Kirti and others said about the environment and the ability to meet people in person. But the reality is that in this 12 months, I have spoken to people in Singapore, in Philippines, in Malaysia, in Jodhpur or wherever else in India that I have never spoken to. I would have not spoken to and seen them if this wouldn't have happened. We would not have had to meet. Last Sunday, we did a children's program summer virtual camp and I talked about it and I said that it's so much fun to see these guys to come together, and you have to decide what your company's personality is. Companies are individuals. Our personalities work hard, play hard. So it's fun environment and informal. And I thought the digital environment absolutely opened the windows for us. I could not have, and so many people could not have met with leadership. I could not have met with so many people virtually. And this has just blown me apart of what the opportunities lie of collecting this and making sure that we are able to connect better. What is absolutely important is what do you want to do in that? How do you make sure that what do you tell the story about it? What is it that's engaging? And I think at times we are also judging it from a lens of us, and the sense the age group, the personalities, and what we have gone through. The millennial world is absolutely happy in being digital native. If they are not being questioned about getting off from their devices and not to get out of it, they get in touch with their friends exactly the same way. So we I think need to change the personality scale as well as the judgment scale a little bit, because the guys who are coming to our companies are not, I mean, there might be some we are hiring from our age group, but most of them hopefully are going to be the age group of the millennials. And those are guys who probably don't care too much about, hanging around the coffee table or the coffee dispenser. So you have this whole digital world that you got to be used to. I believe, and this opens up a whole new world of connectedness.
Yeah, I know a lot of different generations, so different viewpoints coming across. Very interesting. Let's see how we have managed this. We're almost out of time. We are actually out of time. But last words from all of you to our youngsters who are watching this, message to those youngsters, young engineers who are about to graduate, or to your young employees. What's your message?
I think one message to everybody is, in a slightly isolated world now, please take care of your mental health, stay stable. We are social animals. It's going to be difficult to meet large crowds, and how to engage with teams in a virtual environment, how to work with teams, how to ask, how to give. These are things I would say, please stay focused on and stay safe.
Srijata?
I would say it's over and above, of course, please do take care of yourself at this time. I think that is the priority for everyone. I would say the future is in your hands. The future is bright. The only ask perhaps is know where your passion is and head in that direction, because that's where you will find the biggest joy for yourself, and you will find that you are your best self. So spend the time to experiment with a few things, but do what it takes to understand where your passion is, because the opportunities will be unlimited there.
Jagdish?
Well, I think just learn something. There is an opportunity somewhere in the world, and this world has shown to us is that you're not limited to your city, your state, your country, the whole world is an opportunity. But just learn something that you'd like to learn. Like Srijata said, if your passion is that, follow that passion. There'll be someone there waiting to match you there. So you will find your match, but just pick up something and learn a skill, and that's going to help you definitely.
Kirti?
Mine would be, well, use your time well. That we have an opportunity right now. This box has become very powerful, the one we are talking through. And don't panic. There is tons to do. There's a lot of gloom and doom stories out there. Don't believe them. Yes, there is bad news, and we've all suffered in the last few months. We have all, faced it. And so there's a tendency to think that the world is falling apart. It's not. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity out there. But yes, you have to use your time well and be prepared to grab it. The world is not going to come to you with the oars and the boats. You have to learn to row yourself, and you can. So just take the opportunity to get prepared. There's tons of opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what Shilpa and I keep hearing from companies like all of yours. I mean, the opportunities are enormous. The world is looking to India to create the kind of talent that the world requires. Every company, as they say, is becoming a software company. They want talent like crazy to digitally transform themselves. India has huge numbers of people who can potentially transform themselves into these digital workers who can help out these companies. So enormous opportunity. It's for, like everybody in the panel said, it's for each of us to kind of grab those opportunities. So all the best to our listeners, and thanks a lot from Shilpa and me and from Times Techies. Thanks to all of you, Kirti, Srijata, Paneesh, Jagdish. Thanks so much. Very interesting discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sujit.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.